Hello, Mustang fans, and welcome to another episode of the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm your host, John Clore, along with my co host, Mike Ray. And tonight, Mike, we've always asked all around the world, what's this hobby ever going to become if it just goes along with us older guys? We can never seem to get young people into the hobby. It's never going to happen. Woe is me. The end of the world is coming. And then every once in a while, Mike, the Mustang world has a way of just saying, you don't know everything. I think tonight will be a very special episode.
Yeah, I waited 20 years, right? Gave all my life, and the month after I retire, here he is.
Yeah. So, and we're going to bring a lot of these stories to light because the more that we get involved with the Mustang hobby, the more we find wonderful people. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the hobby, I just have to let you know, we still love all of our clubs. I was fortunate enough to be asked to go down to St. Louis, Missouri, to the Show-Me State to help the Show-Me Mustang Club celebrate its 40th anniversary. I was the guest speaker at the banquet. Really, it was in honor of the founders of the club, which were Mitch and Karen Mitchell. Mike, I don't know if you know that, but Mitch and Karen started that club when they were teenagers. They weren't even married yet.
Yeah.
And then after they started this club, they got married. 40 years later, still key members. We just lost Karen just the other day. I was so glad to be able to get down there, at least see her, to enjoy that 40th anniversary with her. And so I'm standing up at the banquet, Mike, and I'm talking about, the world of Mustang clubs, and, we're getting older now, and it's been hard. I talk always, Mike, about your challenge to try to get people into some leadership positions. And I say something stupid like there's nobody in this room under the age of 40. And then guess what? Some guy stands up over on the head table right next to me. And he says, well, wait, what about me? He raised his hand. And I saw Eric Richards over there. Eric Richards, welcome to the Mustang Owners Podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Excited to join. Yeah, are you kidding? You stood up in the middle of that banquet and you said, wait a second, what about me? So, Eric, I know if you're in the Mustang Club, you're into Mustangs, but what the heck happened you said, was it Karen? Was it Mitch? Was it the club? Was it the cars? What got you involved in the Show Me Mustang Club?
That's a good question. I don't really know, like, a certain point. I think it came down. My dad was able to purchase a 2020 GT350 Heritage Edition, brand new, back in 2021. And I just remember the first time ever, like, in the summer, I was passing by, like, a church car show, as you do. And I saw, obviously, Mustangs everywhere. So I was freaking out, going crazy with my friend. And I happened to come upon another Heritage Mustang, and it was the first time I've seen one since my dad purchased one. And I remember just talking. It was an older couple that owned it. Not too old, obviously, but older than me at the time because I was only like 21.
Everybody's older than you, Eric.
Yeah. And I just remember we got to talking, and Karen, obviously how she is, she knew everything about Mustangs. She came over, and we just started talking for 30, 40 minutes. And from there on, it just kind of sparked, and we exchanged information. And obviously I got to get really close with Mitch, and we just got to... Over the years, it just grew, and we never saw like an age gap or anything. It was just one of those things where they're in the Mustangs, I'm in the Mustangs. We're huge Ford nuts, and it just kind of embraced from there. And obviously from then on, I was able to purchase my own GT350, and now I'm part of the club as well. So
Sounding all too familiar, John.
Yes, so the club president, Mitch and Karen founded that club, and even though for 10 years she battled cancer, and I don't know how long was that, Eric, was she battling cancer when you first met her 10 years ago?
Yes, she was. It was, like I said, I met her in 2021. I had crossed paths as I was growing up, but that's when I really got to know her. And you know how she is. She was just a fighter, and I didn't even know she had cancer the first couple of years because she never let that get to her, and that's just how the club was kind of founded over their strength.
Yeah, and Mitch, of course, Mike, being a great Mustang guy that he is, but the club, sees the cars lined up and comes in to look at the cars, and Eric sees a car that he loves, and they embrace him, talk about it. And Eric, right about there, Mike, didn't we notice that right about there, some guys would say, well, that was cool, and they may come to the car show and park their car over at Spectator, but they don't actually make that leap to go say, you know what, rather than just showing up at the shows or maybe cruising with them, I want to learn more about the club. I mean, how did that happen with you, Eric?
It's a good question. I think it's just my friends that I grew up with, none of them really big into cars, and I was never into the racer stuff, you know, like the Fast and Furious of my generation. I was always into the muscle stuff. So that's like when I got to meet all these guys in the club that are obviously older, but they're like my parents' age and stuff. But we didn't see that, and we just kind of had the same common, I guess, interest in Mustangs. So from there, I was like, you guys are gonna do drives and stuff. You're gonna do cruises with Mustangs. Count me in. So that's just kind of what I spend all my weekends now from that point on kind of doing.
So, Mike, can you imagine? He goes to college. He's wanted to be a CPA. Now he's a CPA. So he's the kind of guy that when we be sitting at meetings with Pericak or the bean counters at SVT. These numbers guy will kill you. And so Eric and I were at the dinner, and he starts telling me about his dad. About how his dad is a Ford guy and how that that happens a lot, Mike. Your dad got you into cars, right? I mean,
yeah.
And he kind of you just got an interest because you wanted to share that with your father, and now it doesn't stick with everybody.
And my dad wasn't necessarily a Ford guy.
You're right.
You know what I mean, he was just a car guy. But I grew up in Dearborn, and the glass house was in my background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Eric's telling me about this, and then I find out that after he worked hard, he graduated from college, and he saved up. Like when I went to college, I said I'm going to save up for a Mustang. And I bought a beat up old '66 coupe. Now, Eric, I had the one of one 1966 Mustang coupe. It was the only Mustang in the United States that weighed 9,000 pounds. Most of them are 2,500 pounds. Mine was 2,500 pounds plus about 7,000 pounds of Bondo. But Eric, Mike, graduates, and what does he get?
GT350?
Yep.
Not any GT350, and not in any color. Eric, what attracted you to your car?
Man, that's huge. This might be a long story here, but well, originally my first car was a 2014 V6 Mustang because my dad's first car was a '65 Mustang, and I wanted to have a Mustang as my first car naturally as well. So I had that throughout college and stuff, and from then on, I was obviously saving up for like a V8 because everybody always gives you trouble. Oh, you have a 3.7 V6, it's not a V8. But I was working hard, saving up. But I remember at a point, you got to remember in 2015, I was born in 2000. In 2015, when the Ford GT, Focus RS, GT350R, all that was announced, I couldn't even drive. I didn't know how to drive a manual or anything. But like from that day, I was like, man, these cars are special. And I put on a vision board of mine, I want to have a GT350 by the age of 26.
Wow.
So that was like always on my thing. Like I never was able to experience one growing up, like from 15 through 2020. I didn't like experience one, but obviously when my dad got one in 2021, that's when I got to like really see how great of a car it is with the flat plane, the Tremec. It's just one of one kind of thing that's not going to be replicated. I was always wanting the driver's car, and that's obviously I think the ultimate driver's Mustang still to this day in terms of an enthusiast kind of experience. So like from that day on, from 2015, that was kind of my dream car, and that's what I worked towards.
I was on that launch team, Eric, to launch that car. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, Mike, as you can tell right off the bat from the beautiful display case behind Eric Richards, there may be one or two very rare things that have to do with a Shelby GT350. Yeah, I mean, he's got, so obviously he knows people. So,
yeah.
So, and
no, I just know eBay.
No, so
we all know that.
Yeah.
So Mike, his dad's got this great car. Of course, he says, if I'm going to get one, I'll get the blue one. Of course, it's so hard to find the heritage cars, and to see these two cars together. He's got photos of them together at a show. I mean, it just knocks me out, right? So I go back after the speech. I sit down, and Eric and I are talking about his background, and then he's telling me, I said, so how was it that you chased along with when Karen and Mitch and the Show-Me Club had some people come up to Moxham's Mustang Homecoming, and somehow when Mike Ray makes a phone call to some guy named Dave Pericak, he'll say, I don't know, Mike, it's really busy. What time you want me there? And, Mike, I don't think he's ever failed the show.
No, Dave always shows up for me, and I definitely treasure that about him.
Well, when Eric saw him, Eric, I don't know if you were following through a Faster Horse movie or how you got, how you chased the Pericak story. It's really the Dave Pericak S550 story. And
I remember Karen saying something, John, that she wanted someone to meet Dave. That's that's the vague memory I have of that. And then now that when you said that about who he was, I remember that. And I was sitting next to Dave when he got to meet him.
so Eric, you wanted to meet this guy, the engineer behind the cars that you love, and you had that moment in Dearborn where Mike introduced the two of you. Do you remember what you asked him or what he said to you? Do you remember that moment when you finally got to shake his hand and say hi? What did he say to you? What did you say to him?
Well, the first thing I said was, Dave, you're my hero. So like, and then obviously like how humble he is, he's like, no, you're my hero for like obviously supporting the brand and stuff. And just, I think the first couple of things I asked was like just background of like the 350, you know, they obviously know all the inside stuff because he was one of the big guys for that.
Oh, yeah.
So like he was able to tell me inside stories of how the voodoo kind of came about. Because I remember growing up, or at least Jay Leno had like Jay Leno's garage. Obviously, he had I think it was Jamal Hamidi on, and I remember him saying that they purchased a 458 Ferrari motor, and they reconstructed that and made that into the flat plane voodoo. So I never heard any other stories of that, but I wanted to confirm with Dave. So that was the first thing I asked him after obviously telling him he's my hero, and that's when he said, yes, we gotta. It was hard to get a Ferrari motor and do that for. I'm obviously an accountant. It was hard to get all the financial guys on board for Ford to obviously spend that money for that, just to deconstruct it. But that was one of the cool things, just to kind of learn all the stuff that A, he either wanted to do to the car, or B, like stuff that isn't obviously public knowledge. So,
well, Mike, doesn't that just sound like Pericak when you say something like, you're my hero, and he turns it right back to the people that buy and love Mustangs? Isn't that Pericak? And that's that man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if Eric, I don't know if you know that story, but Dave loves it, and they do listen. And the way I met Dave was I complained about the taillights on the 2010 Mustang, and that's how I got introduced to Dave. And the rest is history, as they say. And it's but they do listen, and he'll give you feedback. He'll be blunt. He'll put it out there. There's no beating around the bush with Dave, and he knows his stuff inside and out. And and he was the chief engineer on the S550.
Yeah.
So Eric gets his chance to go up and talk to him. And Eric, that probably didn't do anything but just to cement your idea that this is a cool guy and Ford's a cool company, and your car is way more special than you might think it is, even though you do have a spectacular car. And so you got that moment in time, but then I had no idea that you were so active in the Show-Me Mustang Club. The club's 40 years old, and Mike, when I went to the banquet, so many of the people there were not just the old timers that have been around since Karen and Mitch started the thing 40 years ago. There were a lot of members there at the banquet to celebrate 40 years that were 2, 3, and 4-year members, Eric, which tells me there's kind of a resurgence in the St. Louis area for that club. What do you see happening in that club? Do you see it's kind of the interest is going up and not down?
I think it's kind of two things. It's obviously Ford's still making awesome cars, so people that are buying the new S650s, dark horses and the like, they can obviously relate to something and join a club. But I also think it's due to the fact that we're doing a lot of drives, we're doing shows and stuff, we're kind of putting ourselves out there, and it's kind of just a big community. And a lot of people that are into cars, they don't, maybe their family members aren't really into cars at all, so they don't really have an outlet to kind of share that with. And that's the beauty of a club, is like, no matter your age, your ethnicity, or anything, you can come together and just talk about cars, and in our case, talk about Mustangs. So I think that's what the magic of it is.
Mike, how many times have you tried in the summit to get through to young people saying, hey, yeah, we may have that little age difference, but just hang out with us? I mean, you begged them, Mike. I mean, and sometimes it's hard for them to cross over and just to try it for one event.
Yeah, and if you do, just like Eric did, like I said, you'll meet people, you'll start talking, and the age all goes away immediately because you're all still there for the same passion.
Yep.
Yeah, so Eric told me about that, and then all of a sudden when I found out, wait a minute, he's on the board of directors? Now, it's one thing to join a club, Mike. And those kids, they'll sit in the way back at the meeting. They're in the back table back there.
I'm having deja vu again.
But I mean, and then what happens, Eric, is the young guys, if they're back, they'll say when we're up there announcing why don't you start a show at 8:30 in the morning? I'm not up until noon. That kind of stuff. We hear them back there, Mike, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But to have Eric on the board and to be the webmaster, to somebody to be able to carry the messaging. And Eric, I don't want to, throw any shade on the web stuff, but when I first started Club Connect, one of the things the clubs told me the number one need is a webmaster and someone that understands the web. And I'd say, well, why are you having such a hard time? And they go, because the college kid that did it went back to school.
Yeah. Been there, done that too.
Yeah. And everybody else in the club was on AOL dial-up. Yeah. They couldn't, and HTML, that's how to meet ladies. They don't know HTML. You know what I'm saying? So to have you in that critical position for the Show-Me Mustang Club, I mean, I was just blown away. So Mike, I'm going to just knock your socks off with this one. Okay. So we're up there, we're talking to Eric. Eric's telling me about, hey, I got to meet Pericak again. I said, well, let me talk to Mike. Let's have Mike back, and maybe we'll have a call. Mike, we can have a call. And one of the new things we want to do with the podcast, have a call-in session where we can take your call. You'll get a chance to talk to Dave. Wouldn't that be kind of cool, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Question.
I have a whole paragraph of questions since I met him, though.
You do. So listen to this. So Mike, this is going to blow your mind. So I'm up there, and during the course of the evening, I brought in the Ford, the Collector's Edition book that you and I spent 8 years of our life on.
Yeah.
And I put it up there at the front table. I opened the book up to the Mustang chapter. And, your name's in there as the director, and I'm in there as the editor.
I'll say, is it the picture of me, you, and Dave?
Yeah, me, you, and Dave, the three of us in that book. So I laid it out there, and I opened up all the archive stuff and the badges. So guess what? A couple of guys said, oh, that's cool, and you get $100 off. I think that Club 25 card still worked. I was hoping it would. I said, well, who would possibly get $100 off that book? And I said, well, I know the two guys that did it.
Yeah, there we go.
So Eric gets out his phone and he buys one. Eric's got it. He's got that history of Ford. For a young man to want to know this whole 125 years of absolute craziness that Henry started on Bagley Street here in Detroit with the quadricycle, he wanted that. So now Eric's got that big page with Mike Ray, John Clore, then Pericak standing on the stool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you've come full circle. Eric, Mike and I will tell you this right off the top. Because of the way that you came into the hobby, the way that you stepped up, the way you're interested in this glorious history of Ford, the cool shit that you have in your cabinet there, it's knocking my socks off. I mean, I got a couple of things on my desk here, but you're rocking it with that. Mike and I have to tell you, you're our hero.
Wow. Appreciate it.
It's true. Yeah.
Means a lot.
Mike, if Eric Richards,
that's what this whole podcast is about.
This is it. If we can find enough Eric Richards, the future of the Mustang hobby, the club world, all the fun that you and I have had, Mike, for all these years, and plan to have even more of now that we're not running the club.
Yeah.
If that's the future, Eric, you give us such hope. Not just because your car is way cooler than anything I've ever owned, except for maybe, I don't know. I don't even know. And then, the fact that you're so involved in the club, you understand the value of what Mike did, which was to try to connect, what would you call them, Mike? Mustang heroes, personalities?
Yeah, but like John, this isn't the Mustang podcast. It's the Mustang owners podcast. So this is literally just, you're the epitome of a guest right now. I mean, it just absolutely is exactly what this is all about and why we do it.
Yeah. So Eric, I have to tell you, I don't know how that all happened. I know in the spirit of Karen Mitchell, bless her soul, for bringing you into this, but you really are what we're looking for in the future of Ford lovers, not just because you have a phenomenal car, but you understand the collectible world. And what's the rumor about your next car is going to be probably the hottest hot hatch ever made by Ford Motor Company in the history of the world. Are you really looking for an RS?
Yeah, that was like my first actual dream car before the 350, because I was like, I could probably swing a $40,000 Focus before $70,000 GT350. But that's next on my list is this year. I want to get a 2018 specifically race red, because I only made 1,000 total for the North America for that. And that's still, to this day, that's a testament to Ford. It's still the hottest hatchback they've ever made. that like anybody's ever made. It's still beating the brakes off of the Civic Type R, all the other competitors.
So Eric, I got the chance to go on a track with Jack Roush Jr. and his personal Focus RS, and let me tell you, he was lapping 800 horsepower Mustangs in that car.
Yeah, that all-wheel drive is crazy.
Yeah. So Eric, somehow God has gifted you with the blessing of Mustangdom, and you're now into this Mustang world. You're in the club world. You're a board member. You can make this club do fun things. We're just so excited to have you on the podcast to share your story. Mike, I might have to go through some of this. I got more little. We're going to have to go through some of the stuff he has in his cabinet. I'm going to go back and pause.
Sounds like a road trip, John.
Yeah,
I didn't take that thing out. I'm still trying to understand the history behind it.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, we could have an whole episode about where he came up with half this stuff in there, because a lot of it I see you have to be a dealer or you had to buy that vehicle because it was in the box, Mike, with a 350 owner's kits. Which
eBay's a crazy bad hole to fall down to. Trust me, no one knows that better than me.
It is.
Yeah. I blame Mitch. He just sends me links to stuff, and I'm like, "Come on, dude! Like, I'm saving for an RS."
For all of those of you out there that have been listening to the podcast for years, and you send us a lot of email, Mike. We're up for another mailbag edition, and a lot of it is, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And my son is still playing video games, and he's not out playing with cars. And whenever I would feel down, I walked down to that banquet in St. Louis and met Eric Richards and said, "You know what? We're in good hands." So Eric, do what you're doing more often. Keep pitching the Ford faith. You give us hope, and I'm just so pleased to have met you, and I want to continue to bring Ford into your world. Mike, if we can possibly get Pericak back and to hook up with these guys, maybe we could do a summit and have Pericak talk at the summit where Eric can get on a Zoom call. How much fun would that be?
I'll travel to it, yeah.
Yeah, see,
there you go.
So, Mike, what did I tell you about Eric Richards? Thank you again for spending your time with us tonight on the Mustang Owners Podcast.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Mike, what did I tell you? It's the darkest hour is just before dawn, right?
That's right.
That's it. And Eric blew me away. I remember walking out to our car where everybody's helping me put my stuff back in the car, and I'm driving back to the Hampton Inn, and I said to Jenny, Eric kind of like rejuvenated me. She says, "Oh no, now you're not going to go to sleep."
Here we go again.
I said, "I'm going to get that young man on the podcast." So, folks, if you enjoy these kinds of stories, make sure that you click that like button and at least subscribe. We want to get our 1,000 subscribers as fast as we can. Share this among all your friends if you like to see this kind of content on the interweb, because there's that ugly YouTube algorithm that'll keep it from everybody unless you like or subscribe or watch the video to the end. We want you to do that. And if you can, wear something cool like what Mike Ray is wearing tonight, the Mustang Owners Podcast apparel. Mike, that is so sweet.
SVTstore.com. Go get yours.
That's right. You can get yours in the colors and sizes that you want. And then make sure you tune into us, because, Mike, the changes that people want on the podcast are coming. And you got to stay tuned. Catch us every week, and we'll make sure that you're going to be interested. You're going to love to see the kind of stuff we got coming up. So, Mike, I told you, never worry. The good stuff's still coming. It's like AM radio. And the hits just keep on coming.
The gift that just keeps on giving.
That's right. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that little podcast tonight. So until next time, I guess we're just going to have to catch you guys down the road.